Hey, Miles here, milesbeckler.com. In this video, you're going to learn about the paradox of one. Specifically, we're going to look at the number one in business through the eyes of a couple of greats in the world of direct response marketing. Specifically, I'm talking about Dan Kennedy and Gary Halbert. Now, they're both what I would call old school copywriters. Gary Halbert is no longer with us. Dan Kennedy commands hundreds of thousands of dollars to write a sales letter. These two guys have made them and their clients exorbitant amounts of money in the world of marketing. And they both have very different philosophies about the number one. So Dan Kennedy is well known to say that one is the most dangerous number in business. Then on the other hand, Gary Halbert is known to say that you're one sales letter away from being rich. So how can they both have such different kind of perspectives around the number one? Well, herein lies the paradox. And I want to unpack this for you because these types of things, these little paradoxes, these almost like contradictions can eat away at you and leave you feeling confused. And confusion leads to nothing good in a business, right? When we have clarity, when we have laser-like focus and we're taking massive action, that's what really makes it all work. So I want to unpack this a little bit to help you confidently make effort and make progress forward towards your goals. Now, I totally agree with Dan Kennedy that one is an enemy to business. So if you have one traffic source, if you have one funnel, if you have one opt-in, if you have one product, you're pretty much at the whims of kind of outside influences. An example of this would be somebody building a fulfillment by Amazon business, and they have one product and that's it. And they've listed it on Amazon. They have a few good months. They think they've made it, and all of a sudden, game over. Amazon decides not to rank you anymore. Amazon boots you from their program. Amazon goes and creates a better product white label, right? And that's kind of an abstract idea. So back in my first experience earning income online, when I was on MySpace in 2003, I was doing affiliate marketing on MySpace, and they changed their terms of service when MySpace got purchased. Fox News bought out MySpace and they changed their terms of service, and no longer my links would work. They just turned off my links, literally overnight. I went from making a few grand a month to nothing overnight because I had one offer and one traffic source, and that was it. So this is why the number one can be detrimental to your business. Facebook is constantly changing the rules. Their advertising platform is all over the place. It is an absolute roller coaster, even for people who are really good at advertising on that platform. Google is known to be finicky. I know people who got their website slapped in 2011, 12, when they were using kind of the shady SEO tactics. It's still kind of a finicky situation, right? And markets shift, not just the platforms we're on. Market taste, market behaviors totally shift. Trends come and go. What once was trendy is no longer trendy, and there's this new thing. So you want diversity inside of your business, but then let's look at the other side, right? The Gary Halbert side, which is, you're one sales letter away from being rich. And I actually like to simmer it down. I use that as an example because those two guys are kind of on the same level in many senses. But I look at it as you really can only focus on one thing at a time. You can only do one thing at a time. And there's entire books and entire philosophies about how to get things done that are focused on the power of one, right? And there's also a lot of truth within that because of the fact that you can actually only work on one project at a time. You can actually only work on one thing at a time. You need that laser-like focus over extended periods of time to gain momentum in that which you are doing. So let's say you're doing Facebook advertising to a cold traffic funnel. You're doing a free plus shipping offer for something you have with a couple of upsells behind it. Well, copywriting is really going to be your make or break in that situation, right? The tactics of how to build the funnel, the tactics of how to make the Facebook ads work are almost irrelevant. They're so simple, and they've been covered on this channel, not to mention dozens of other channels, I'm sure, that it's not a tactical situation in that world. It's copywriting. So then you're one skill, and you have to go all in on this skill. You can't kind of dabble in the world of copywriting and truly expect to figure it out. You need to go all in. You need to read every copywriting book that's ever been written, and you need to hand write out one sales letter per day every single day for 90 days to, I would say, almost for a full year. You need to be doing nothing but mimicking and learning from the best of the best of the best of the best. And you need to be writing. You need to be producing content, first mimicking that which worked from the greats, and then writing your own content. And then you really just have to go all in on that one platform, that one funnel, that one offer to really make it work. You need to do enough split testing on it to make it work. If you're trying to run Pinterest paid advertising, Google paid advertising, YouTube paid advertising, and Facebook paid advertising all off the bat because you're scared of one and you're trying to learn 4 separate platforms at the same time, and you have to dial in your funnel, you're never going to make it, ever. Literally, there's no possibility that you can make it because you won't have enough focus in one area long enough to create the kind of conversions that you ultimately desire. So this is the paradox, right? You have to focus in on one long enough to get through the learning curve, to get good enough to where your tests are actually testing the right things. Your first Facebook ads test with your very first funnel, man, like you're testing a lot of different variables without even realizing it, and the odds of a first ad, a first funnel, a first offer working are, I would say, 1 in 100 million. I think the odds of winning the lottery would probably be better than somehow magically dialing that all in on your first try. So that's the reality of the situation. And two more examples. I'll give you 2 more specific examples. Number 1, my wife, when she grew her site, all in on written content. All in on blogging. She knew the world she wanted to talk within. It was that world of spirituality and stuff. She knew, she loves it. She's all about it. She had pretty much read every blog and every book she had got her hands on, and she was thirsty for more content. She started to have her own unique ideas that were kind of synthesizing, and she was like, I'm just going to go all in. I'm just going to write. And what'd she do? She spent 4 years writing, nonstop writing. We learned to create these audio recordings at one point to actually sell something, right? But that was it. It was written content on a WordPress blog to attract visitors from Google. Then we had an opt-in, which was an audio file. And then we had a course, and our products were actually audio files. 4 years of doing just that before it really started to work to the point where we actually gained traction. We actually started earning real life style income. Then once we had the income coming in, we were able to kind of quit our jobs, regain some of that time and energy back to where we could refocus and reallocate that time and energy onto this business. That's when we started adding on things like the YouTube channel that she started in, I believe, 2012. We started her website in 2009 for perspective. Her podcast channel that came out, the books that started coming out, which was 2012, 2013 is when we put out our first Kindle books. All of these other things, the social media marketing, right? Going really all in on Facebook social media marketing in about 2014, growing a fan page to nearly 1 million fans at that point. All of these other things that we built out to diversify that business, to protect our income streams that we were now relying on, actually started with one. And this channel that you're watching here, for years I tried to blog. I don't like blogging. I don't like writing that much. Now I kind of like it, and I'm okay at it. But man, 2.5, 3 years ago, I was like, I'm not a writer. It just doesn't work. So I started this video thing, and I did nothing but videos for 6 months straight. I didn't create an opt-in. I didn't transcribe them and turn them into blog posts. I didn't post about them on social media. I didn't, I didn't even put them into podcast episodes at all. All I did for 6 months straight, and I want you to remember this, I'd been online full time for 6+ years at this point in time. All I did was the video each and every day, all in, one action, one platform, one channel, one media. That was it. For 6 months. And then I started my opt-in so I could actually recommend people come get my free course and check out my opt-in thing, right? So did that for another 6 months. For over 1 year, I did nothing but YouTube videos. And then at that point, I finally felt like I was competent, right? I was making decent videos. I had breathing room. It didn't take all of the energy I had left in a day to put out my video, right? Because I still have my business going. It's not like I had nothing but free time when I decided to start putting out these videos. Like, I'm busier than most people, busier than everyone who works just 40 hours a week, for sure. Incredibly busy, right? And finding that time to fit in, to make those videos, to go all in on one channel, to kick it up enough to really gain momentum. You know, YouTube and Google as well is monitoring your heartbeat. And the frequency of your publishing, that's pretty much your heartbeat. And if you're flatlining, that means you put up one video every month, and then it's flatline. And YouTube's never going to rank a channel like that. I know that. That's how the algorithms work. So I got to really get that heartbeat going on my channel, and I got to prove it for a very extended period of time before I can even look up and consider adding on number 2. Now I started adding on the blog content a year in. Now I'm 2.5 years in. I've been trying to figure out and working with the process of going from video to blog post, since I don't want to just sit and write every single post myself. I'm a year and a half into that. I'm still refining that process. I'm still figuring out that process, but now my website's generating about 25,000 visits per month. When I first started, after I'd been trying to force myself to write for a long time, my blog was generating maybe 100 visits per month maximum, right? So that's the difference. And then after 6 months of getting that blog content going out, I added on the third pillar, which is the podcast strategy, right? So now 2.5 years in, I'm doing some Facebook Lives here and there. I'm doing a little bit more on social, but really barely, not much at all, because I'm all focused on these 3 things. But to grow each one of these 3 channels, I really went all in on each one individually long enough to get through the learning curve, to get momentum on my side, and to get comfortable with the process enough that I wasn't going to slip up on one when I tried to add on 2. And that was in the example when I said somebody who tries to run Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, and Pinterest ads all at the same time, and Instagram ads, let's throw on number 5, they're not going to do any one of those well enough to ever get through the learning curve. They're not going to do any one of those well enough to actually gain traction. Therefore, they're going to do poorly at all of them. They're going to be hemorrhaging money on all of these different platforms. Nothing's going to work, and they're going to quit. Had I been making my videos for, let's say, 45 days, which I did a 120-day challenge. I did 120 videos in 120 days. Talk about all in on one. So if I went in day 45, I tried to start doing a blog post a day on top of what I was doing, or I looked at what other people were doing in the market and said, oh, well, Gary Vee is doing all this different work. I need to go do that now. But I hadn't really built the skill properly for that one. I would have burnt out. I would have gotten overwhelmed. I would have stopped doing the one thing that was most important, trying to do the 3 things because one isn't enough. I got to do 3. And that would have literally been the end of what is now a really helpful resource here in the world of YouTube and on Google of tactics and internet marketing stuff, right? Like this channel, like I was able to weather all of those challenges early in the process and stay focused on one long enough to really gain momentum. And this whole idea and this whole conversation we're having here, we just had, is all about you reflecting on yourself. What are you doing? Are you focused on one? There's a book, I believe it's called The Power of One. And the idea from the book is one thing a day. Go all, what is the one thing you're going to do? And to me, I look at it as, what is the one thing you're going to publish each and every day? Each and every day. For me, my emails every single day. I'm publishing out, sending out an email to my list. I got about 9,500 subscribers on my list. I've been doing daily emails since that list was somewhere 1,000 or 1,500 people. 3 times a week, I'm putting out these videos. I'm trying to do a Facebook Live every single day to really experiment with this, and I slipped up. I literally missed. I missed a day on that on my 3rd or 4th day in. I was building a new course for my Inner Circle members, and I just didn't have enough time in the day. But I didn't let my focus on adding on number 2, or maybe that's number 7 for me at that point, right, divert me from the more important thing that I was working on. I stayed focused on finishing that course to get that course out to my monthly members. They're all paying customers. They pay every month to get my advanced trainings. So I stayed focused for them at the sacrifice of this Facebook content and traffic system that is, very low on the priority list. So all in on one thing that day, micro. And then on the macro, I went all in on video till I got good enough at video. Then I went all in on the next, and I kept both of them going, and all in on the next, and I kept both of them going. It's like the old vaudeville routine of the spinning plates. You probably see it where they spin plates on these little rods, and then they run over, and they're getting the next one spinning, and they run back and forth, and it's a comedy routine. That individual could never spin up 4 plates at once. It's technically impossible to do. You always have to work with one to get one going, to get that kind of centripetal force going, that it actually stays there and it's growing on its own before you can ever add on the second. And that's the truth. And you got some people that are out there telling you that you're one away. And then you got other people who are telling you one is the most dangerous thing in business. You need 2 of everything. 2 is one is none, is kind of one of those cliches that you will hear out there. And in some senses, they're both true. And if that's confusing at all, or if that sounds paradoxical, Well, it is. And welcome to the world of being an entrepreneur, because it's a big confusing world and there's a lot of truths out there that have two sides to it, and both sides are completely true because that's the way it is. So you need to analyze what you're working on, where your focus is. Are you far enough into the learning curve with that one thing to where you're ready to add on the second thing? If not, hold off. Stay all in on that one thing until you gain enough momentum, so you get enough traction and enough competence with that process that adding on a new thing becomes easy, right? When I started to add on my written posts on top of my videos, the videos took me 35, 40 minutes a day. In the beginning, the videos took me 2.5, 3 hours a day, right? So I freed up 2 hours or so a day by simply getting better at the art of making the videos. Then I reallocated that time I freed up, not to drinking Mai Tai, swinging in hammocks, talking about passive income, which is a total lie, but I took that time and I applied it to another content and traffic method, another content machine, right? And then once that was up and running, I tacked on the third one, tacked on the fourth one. And this is the process. Now I'm on the 5th or 6th or 7th. I don't even know what it is at this point, but that's the process. And if you take that process, it'll work for you. The real trick is to realize it's a 3 to 5 year plan. And most people think it's a 3-month plan, and they get frustrated with themselves for not making enough progress fast enough. And that's the biggest, most dangerous trap there is. I hope this has been helpful for you. If it has, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, get me in the comments. I do take time as often as I can to jump in the comments and go back and answer your questions as you have them. I appreciate you. Hit the subscribe if you have not already. My goodness, if you made it to the end of the video and you haven't hit thumbs up or subscribe yet, come on, you're on YouTube. Do it. Hook it up, right? And hook the other YouTubers you watch up with likes, engagements, comments, and subscriptions too. It means a lot to us content creators. I appreciate you, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next video. Until we meet again, be well.